Okay, so now we're in the middle of this. We got it to the point where he's wrestling with the angel. Now, here we have to be very careful about the words. I'm in the wrong parsha. That won't be good. So we said he was left alone, and Rashi quoted the Chazal that he went back for little jars. We talked about the fact that tzaddikim are careful to avoid temptation. That was the message, the Musa message there. So we're on page 370. This is 32:25 in the book of Genesis. And the pasuk says, Jacob remained alone, not left alone, because left alone sounds like people with him and they walked away from him. The pasuk doesn't say that. Vayivaser Yaakov levado means in the end he was alone. And it says a man, the word in the Hebrews is ish, wrestled with him until the break of dawn. Okay, who is this man? How did he get there? What is his intention? So now, Rashi is worried about the meaning of the word. The basis of the word is avak, which means dust. So one of the explains that, when you're struggling with somebody and you kick up dust from the ground, fine. 26, When he perceived that he could not overcome him, he struck the ball of his thigh bone, and the ball of Jacob's thigh bone became dislocated as he wrestled with him. Okay, now here's one of the things you have often in biblical text. When he perceived that he could not overcome him, he struck the ball of his thigh bone. 5 possessors, 5 he's. Who's he? Which one? Which one is which? From the blank he's, you would not be able to tell. Maybe he struck the person, the man, or the man struck him. But then the verse tells you the outcome. The ball of Jacob's thigh bone became dislocated, so I guess it's the man who struck Jacob. Okay, if it's the man who struck Jacob, let's go back to the beginning of the sentence and disambiguate all the he's and see what we get. Right. So, he perceived, that's A, that he could not overcome him, that's B. So he, A, struck the ball of B's thigh bone, and Jacob is the one who got struck. So the Ish saw that he couldn't overcome Jacob, and therefore the Ish struck Jacob's thigh bone. Now we learn something about this Ish. He's out to get Jacob, but he can't overcome him. Whoever this Ish is, he's not able to overcome Jacob. Okay, let's just keep that piece of information in our book of facts. Now, 27. Then he said, "Let me go, for dawn has broken." Who said? One said to the other, "Let me go, for dawn has broken." Let me go. Let's see now. They're fighting with one another. One says to the other, would it be Jacob saying to the man, "Let me go, for dawn has broken"? Is asking to be let go? Oh, Jacob has an appointment in the morning. He's got to get on the subway. He's got to get there on time. Like, is that what's going on? Well, who knows, right? And now he said, that's the one who's holding him, "I will not let you go unless you have blessed me." Who's asking for a blessing from whom? Is Jacob asking for a blessing from the man, or is the man asking Jacob for a blessing? All of this is not clear. She said to him, "What is your name?" Okay, that's the one who wants to go, right? And he said, Jacob. Aha, okay. So the last one in the chain is Jacob. So it has to mean this, that the man said to Jacob, let me go. And Jacob said, I will not let you go. And the man said to Jacob, what is your name? And Jacob answered, Jacob. So this man, whoever he is, needs to go at dawn. He has things to do. And Jacob, although injured, is holding him and not letting him go. So he asks to be let go. And Jacob says, I want a blessing. So whoever this man is, he came to attack Jacob, struggled with him, tried to better him and do some kind of damage, wasn't able to do so, and now Jacob's asking him for a blessing. Yeah? I mean, that's what you do. You ask your enemies to bless you. I mean, do you think they'll say it seriously? They want to get away, and you're saying, I'll let you go if you bless me. Okay, be blessed. Let me go. Right? I mean, there's a lot here that needs to be understood. Let me just go a little further. Okay, so now, he said to Jacob, no longer will it be said that your name is Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with the divine and with men, and you've overcome. Wow, that's what this man says? What kind of man is that? First of all, he's telling you something about his future. His name is Jacob. It's not Israel, not yet anyway. How does he know this? Where's he getting it from? And then you have struggled. That's what striven means struggled. You never heard the word striven in your lifetime. Yeah, you struggled with the divine and with people. When did he struggle with the divine? Are you beginning to understand that this Ish has to be an angel? Couldn't be Philip from down the block. It's not. If here, people have grandiose ideas, but they usually don't describe themselves as divine. We had a wrestling match. You've been struggling with the divine. Excuse me, maybe you're a class 1 wrestler, but divine you're not. No, but the word that's used here in the Hebrew, Elohim, can refer to angels. Your translator writes the divine because he wants to, say something that will be not too specific to raise questions. But the word Elohim can be used for an earthly authority. We went through this one time. Can be used for angels. And can be used for God also. Can be used all 3 ways. Since he's been struggling with an angel, that's why it's called divine. Did they put? I wonder if they had the right. Yeah, I wouldn't have put a capital D on the divine. It's too strong. So it's not struggling with God. There's a whole book called Wrestling with God, and it justifies all sorts of outrageous things trying to justify it in Jewish terms. No, we're not wrestling with God. That's
not good to define that as. Are people who translate that as God? That would be an issue then. As in the struggle.
It would certainly be an issue.
Yeah.
That belongs to Greek mythology. It doesn't belong to our where God has no physical form at all. The Torah says that over and over again. The prophets say it over and over again. So you need the other thing. So now, we are now clued in that this has got to be an angel. Now, then Jacob said, last move in the interaction, he said, tell me, if you please, your name. And the angel answers, why is it that you ask my name? And he blessed him. He gave him a blessing. Because that was the condition for being let go, that he gave him a blessing. So what's the kind of interaction is this? What's your name? Why did you ask? And he gives up. Jacob gives up. He says, why did you ask? Okay, I guess I made a mistake. And does he? And he's in control, Jacob is. Because the angel asked to be released. Without being released, he's not going to make it. He's not going to go and do what he has to do. So Jacob could have insisted, no, tell me your name. No. Because before he said, I'll only release you if you give me a blessing. So now let's take a look at some of the Rashis here. Um, 27. Dawn is broken. Let me go. Says Rashi, and I must recite song by day. The angels, Now, I should tell you, the word song is not so bad. In English, at least in older English, song can mean poetry. It does not mean music. In Hebrew, shir means poetry. That's why in some of the titles of the Psalms, Mizmor Shir is not redundant. Mizmor means music. Zmira is music. Shir is poetry. So he says, I've got to say Shira, that's reciting poetry of praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's one of the things that the angels do. And one of the times they do it is at dawn. And his time was this dawn. So he says, you're holding me back from my divine service, which ought to move Jacob, huh? That ought to be a reason for him to think of letting him go, right? So he says, I want you to bless me, as if to say, I know that you have a divine service to do, but I'm holding you anyway. Because I think I have something that you need to do, which is also a divine service. I think mine is more important than the fact that your name is on the roster of those who are going to give praise this morning. I have something more important. Now, what could that be? So Rashi brings in here, because of the identity of the angel, which Rashi knows, and that is, he says here, in the middle of 27, concede to me with regard to the blessings which my father blessed me, over which Esau objects. That's what I want from you. I want you to admit that the blessings that I got, which my father wanted to give to Esau, and I supplanted Esau and I took them, that I was right and I was not wrong. Now, what has this angel got to do with the blessings over which Esau is excited and angry? Because this is the angel of Esau and his people. Every nation has its own angel that governs its affairs, that stands as an intermediary between the Creator and this nation. And now, this is the night before the confrontation with Esau. So the angel comes to represent Esau and to attack Jacob so as to cripple him that he can't take control of the interaction with Esau. But he can't overcome him. The angel can't overcome a human being. Now, this is a general rule. You know, all the strength that we have because the Kodesh Baruch Hu gives it to us, and the same with the angel. So it's nothing about inherent strength. Inherent strength, you know, a human being and an angel is zero against infinity. But not when the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants it otherwise. So he gave Jacob the strength to struggle with this angel, to not be bested by him, and to hold him and control him. So it's to the extent where the angel has to beg for being released. And Jacob says, I know who you represent, I know what you want, but it's wrong. When I took the blessings, it's clear that Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted me to take the blessings. And the fact that you oppose it is because you're on the wrong side of the question. And I want you to admit it. And that's why Kodesh Baruch Hu gave him the strength to do that the angel has to admit it because Jacob demands it from him, because Jacob has the power to withhold from him the ability to do the divine service that he was supposed to do. And this goes all the way back to something I told you 2 months ago, that Jacob is born, the Torah tells us, he was born grasping Esau's heel, and his name is Yaakov. The word Yaakov in Hebrew means heel. Akev means heel in Hebrew. Now, what's the idea of he's grasping his heel? It means that you have what belongs to me. And it's symbolic. Not only you, Lavan also has what belongs to me. Jacob's first period of life, everything that belonged to him, he got by taking it away from somebody else. Listen carefully again. Everything that belonged to him, that was his by right, that he really deserved, he got by taking it away from somebody else. It was misplaced in somebody else's control, and he had to take it by taking it away from somebody else. And this is the final stage in that progression, because eventually, very shortly after this incident, his name is changed to Yisrael and changes his character altogether. Yisrael, it contains the word Sar. Sar means prince, high authority, someone who has his own rights. not someone who takes from somebody else. But he had to graduate to that. The first part of his life, he got had ever really belonged to him by taking it away from somebody else. So here, he has to wrestle with the angel of Esau and subdue him in order to get a confirmation that it's his. It's part of the same pattern over and over again. Yeah.
So then why HaKadosh Baruch Hu places Jacob's belongings into other individuals so that he has to struggle to
Oh, why does he do that? Okay.
make sense?
That's another. Maybe I'll take a whole evening and talk about that for an hour. You got a question?
Yeah, I did. I mean, this is a common question that's brought up a lot. Is why did the angel ask for his name?
Oh, I'm coming to.
Oh, you're going to get to that. Okay, you are.
Yeah. That's right. Let's go step by step. So now, he said to him, "What is your name?" Now, of course, he better know his name. Otherwise, maybe he's got the wrong guy. He should have been wrestling down the block. Right? He certainly knows his name. Let's see. This is 28. Yeah. This is a way of, how shall I put it? Names are indicative of a person's essence, his identity. It's pointed out by all the commentators, the names in Hebrew all have meaning. Not like George and John and Peter, they all have meaning. Those meanings give an indication of what they are. So he's saying to Jacob, what is your name? Who are you? What are you? Because I have news for you. I have news for you. This is your name. This is the name that you have. But it's not going to be your name. And I want you to know, we'll see it in a few days, but I want you to know, when God actually changes his name, God says it again. The words with which God changes his name, God says to Jacob, Shimcha Yaakov, your name is Jacob. That's how he starts. Now he knows that, and he knows it. And A knows that B knows it, and A knows that B knows that A knows it, and you can iterate that as many times as you want. No, there's no mystery here. But he's saying to him, this is your name, this is your identity, not always will it be so. He's contrasting who he was to who he's going to be. Similarly, when Abraham's name is changed, God says to him, no longer will your name be called Avram, it'll be called Avraham. He could have just said, from now on you're Avraham. No, he mentions the old name, and he says the old name is going to be transformed into the new name. So all of this is sort of putting the person's identity on the table as the subject and saying this identity is going to be transformed this way. That's the way the message is given. So now that's why he asks, and he says Jacob, and he says, no longer will it be said that your name is Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with the mind with it. So now I want to tell you, I'm doing it now because this pasuk is here now, but we'll do it again when we get there later. These words that are said by the Malach don't come true. Striking that they don't come true. Something much more complex comes true. These words make it sound like what's happening to Jacob is exactly what happened to Abraham. Abraham, at the first period of life, was Avram, then he became Avraham. Became Avraham, and that was it. Avram was retired, buried. Never again was he called Avram. The Gemara comments, a Jew who speaks of the first patriarch as Avram violates a Torah injunction, because it says your name will no longer be Avram, it'll be Avraham, right? But as you all know very well, Jacob's name to the end of his life is sometimes Jacob and sometimes Israel. Even the Jewish people is sometimes called Jacob, sometimes called Israel. So in the case of Jacob, it's not changing his name into something new and discarding the old. That's not what's going on. And if the words of the angel indicate that means the angel got it wrong. Which means that angels can sometimes get things wrong. I have to explain why and how and everything else, but I'm just pointing out what the words mean. Now let's take a look at Rashi 29. 29. No longer will you say your name. No longer will it be said that the blessings came to you through treachery and deceit, but rather through authority. Vigili put in full view, nothing hidden. Why is Rashi making the words in the verse, which talk about what his name will be, into a description of the rights that he has and the fact that he wasn't credited before, making it into a legal and social and character statement? Why did he just take it as the name? It's talking about his name. Because, as I just told you, if you take it as talking about the name, it's false. It comes out false. So now, it's not Yud Ayin Kuf Beis as a 4-letter sequence, which is a title, and Yud Sin Resh Aleph Lamed, which is a 5-letter sequence, which is a different title. We're taking off this title and putting on this title. No, Yaakov refers to a certain character, a certain position in life where he got the blessing, and he was criticized by Esau as stealing it through deceit, and therefore he had to suffer that kind of condemnation. Not anymore. Not anymore. Now it will be admitted that the blessings were appropriate, and that's going to be retired forever. The words in the verse that the Malach says are words of this was and is gone, and this is taking its place. And Rashi is telling us, not the name, that's not true. As I just told you, what happens to Jacob in that context is he gets a new name, he gets an added name, but the old name isn't retired. So if the words say X is retired, replaced by Y, and it's not the name that's retired, then X and Y can't be the names. So X and Y are what the names connote, what the names communicate, not the letters of the label. That's what Rashi is doing. He's saving the truth of the words by changing the subject to a certain extent. Yeah.
I'm curious, because you mentioned that it's to make sure that he didn't actually receive it through treachery and deceit against Esau. However, did he actually take it through treachery and deceit?
We learned that. We learned that in great detail. He certainly did not.
Yeah.
He certainly did not, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm just making sure.
Remember,
I know you phrased it very carefully. I want to make sure that was intentionally to make sure that he didn't actually, just to make sure we didn't seem to.
yeah, no, we went through that in great detail.
Yeah. Then the question I had based on that was, if we know that he actually didn't do it, then what's the point of making just? This seems like it's like a precautionary measure to make sure definitely that it wasn't because of this.
No, remember that one of the reasons it wasn't treachery and deceit is because he was basing himself on a prophecy that his mother shared with him. I don't know if Esau ever found out about that. If he didn't know that, so he could wonder, how did this get started?
How would you know about this?
Oh no, this means history is going to bear it out. History is going to take care of it, in part because he in fact reconciles with him, and he doesn't challenge him for it ever again in history. And it's not a question of that. Again, the reason why he could have thought of deceit is because he didn't know that Jacob was basing himself on prophecy. So that just means that he's missing what would have canceled his idea, what would have contradicted his idea. That doesn't mean he's wedded to the idea.
How does this solve that, though? How does this interaction solve that? Because it's showing that you would no longer be named Jacob, showing that you no longer be associated with this notion of deceit.
That's right.
But if it never existed to begin with, but it just seemed like it existed.
Of course it existed. He wanted to kill him. Esau wanted to kill Jacob because of the blessing.
But the idea was that we don't actually associate Jacob with actually committing treachery or deceit.
So what?
So how does this scenario change anything? That's what I'm confused by.
Let's try it again. Rashi is explaining the following. There are those who say you did it with treachery and deceit. There are those who give you that reputation. There are those who accused you of that. Of course, that's a false accusation. We know the truth. But those who accused him of it still accuse him of it, even though it's false. Did they know it was false? Well, part of the way you could know it was false, the way we knew it was false, is because it's based on a prophecy that Rebecca had. Nowhere does the text say that Esau ever found out that he had a prophecy from Rebecca. So maybe that's why he assumed it to be treachery and deceit, right? Now, as we saw there, when the blessing is given, it's clear that God himself inspired Isaac to give the blessing. That's why when the blessing is given over, the Esau himself doesn't complain that it's a misfire, that it's a mistake, that it was all a cheat. He accepts it. So he's got, What motivated Jacob? Don't know, but God confirmed it. For whatever reason, God confirmed it, and it's a done deal, and it's over and over. And that doesn't mean that Jacob is a tzaddik. Who knows why God did that? Doesn't mean there wasn't treachery and deceit there. He just knows he can't challenge it. So he's got information which is in tension, pieces of information which are in tension with one another, and he hasn't got a clear picture, and he's himself a rotten character, and he's, like I told you, like the king of Sodom and Lavan, everything belongs to me, and I'm right, and everybody else is a criminal, and so forth and so on. But as we will see, he accepts the bribe, and he at least acknowledges friendship and offers friendship, and then he goes off to Seir and does his own thing. So something definitely changes. He came with 400 men to do a battle, and he didn't do the battle.
Yeah.
So there definitely is some kind of reconciliation there.
And that's as the reason why. I mean, again, this is the part I'm still make sure I'm understanding here. The actual in Esau's view, what changed in making him think that Jacob no longer deceived him? Because to Esau,
he got a wonderful gift, and he got an obsequious brother who keeps telling him that he's his master, and who bows down to him 7 times in public, and now he's happy.
So that's the reason. That's what caused the change.
I mean, you don't need more than that, right? These are not thought-out positions. There's not a care here for consistency. He's a crude, vicious person. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be so, carefully worked out. Yeah.
So one thing you said at one point was this idea that now that he has the name Israel, history will bear out that fact, right? So the events that will unfold afterwards will conform with his new identity.
Yeah, but don't say now, because it's in the future. He says your name will be. It's going to be changed.
Okay, but as of this moment, it's almost certain that he's going to receive this name.
Yes.
Okay, so this was kind of like the decisive moment that he earned this, or he earned like the receiving of this to come. And so now history has to abide by the fact that he has, or he's going to receive this new title. It can't act in a way that preserves the sort of public doubt against him.
I guess I'm a little disturbed by about the chronology here. Mm-hmm. If somebody says to you, in 3 months you're going to get a raise, you can't spend the money now. Mm-hmm. So it hadn't happened yet. He's just being told that it will happen.
But events are transpiring already to support the new identity.
I don't know what that means.
Okay.
The angel just says that this will happen.
Okay. You're saying that because of this name, he's no longer going to be in doubt. It's no longer going to be said that he achieved his blessings by treachery.
That's right.
Okay. So, and also reality will conform around that. That history, as you said, will bear out that he earned it properly, and it's not going to continue.
Will bear out, Poor Alvin Plantinga, who was an excellent philosopher, first-class philosopher, accuses Jacob of just being a cheat and a deceiver, and he even coined a term, Jacobean rationality, which means using your clevers to cheat people. Thank God he didn't use the old word. You know what the word was to cheat people? What the verb was in older English? To Jew. To Jew someone means to cheat him and deceive him and take what belongs to him. That was a verb in the dictionary. Okay, so he didn't Jacobean instead of Jew. Okay, but that's the idea, right? Now, we went through the verses there without commentaries. We went through the verses and showed that the verses do not support that at all. Everything Jacob did was perfectly justified. The text is absolutely clear about that subject, which means that someone as a great a philosopher as Alvin Plantinga, who is really I've learned a great deal from him, and he's an honest person, could get it dead wrong. So you talk about history bears out. You have to read history, you have to think history, you have to identify with it in an appropriate way. And if someone is as brilliant as Plantinga could get it wrong, I guess because of Christian prejudice, so other people could get it wrong as well. So when you say history bears out, what you have to mean is the facts are there. Will everybody read them in the appropriate way? Aren't the facts right in Putin's face?
Okay.
Yeah, they are, but he's just systematically misreading them and destroying his country and killing a lot of people and so on and so on.
Okay, so this is the last thing. So the record of events surrounding Yaakov's acquiring of the blessing,
Yeah.
that is set in stone, that if you read it properly, you can only come to one real conclusion.
I think that's true, and also, as far as I know, never does this come up again. From here on out, never does Esau, the representative of Esau, claim that he got the blessings, by subterfuge. Yeah.
I mean, since we were reading that actually Yaakov's attitude was somehow to let know Esav that he didn't really get the blessing, right? Like
So-
in the previous parts, it seems that actually Yaakov is saying, no, I didn't get the blessing, that blessing didn't make effect. It's your blessing. Like this is what Yaakov is trying to make to think to Esav.
Yeah, but that won't change anything. That won't change anything. Yeah.
I mean,
If someone, let's say, steals into somebody else's house and takes the safe and transports it to San Francisco, and then keeps it in a well, and the guy calls up and says, "Too bad that was the empty safe. That wasn't the one who's that had the money in it." Still, he's going to lock his doors, isn't he? Because he did steal in and take the safe, didn't he? So and that doesn't excuse him from breaking and entering and stealing. It just so happens what he got wasn't valuable, right? So if someone has an animus against Jacob because he stole the blessing, the fact that the blessing didn't profit him doesn't take away the fact that he stole it.
right.
He still stole it.
Right, but then why is Yaakov so concerned with the angel actually blessing him? Like why where is the like Yaakov's attitude among to this angel that he wants this blessing, as we read in Rashi, to be as he said, it says to be sealed, conceded, to be conceded.
Because which angel is this?
It's Esav.
It's the angel who represents Esav. When he comes to fight with Jacob, he's coming to fight on behalf of Esav, right? And that if he concedes that the blessings were taken appropriately,
Okay.
he has no reason to fight. He's an angel after all. He's an angel. He's not vicious like Esau is. He thinks Esau has a legitimate claim against Jacob. He's got to admit that it's not so. And the very fact that God gives Jacob the ability to withstand that angel has got to ring deeply inside him. You know,
The whole
what's
scene.
going on here? Yeah.
Verse 29, where it says that no longer will your name be Jacob, it will be said that your name is Jacob. Isn't that the blessing? Why does it say, and he blessed them later on?
That's a good question. I think maybe that the end is not a new thing. It's just a summary of the previous. But let's see what Rashi says there. That's a good point. I should take my glasses out of the thing there. Let's see if Rashi. No, Rashi doesn't say anything. It doesn't have to be another performance. It can be just a summary of the event, because that's the end of the interaction with the angel. I think that in terms of biblical style, it doesn't have to be an independent event. We just the summary of the. Good, we have time. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to the words here. So now, oh, I forgot about this. You got it. Let me take my glasses out of here. I can't see anything. It's terrible. I really should do this every time. Even though this way it's not perfect either, but better than this. All right. Yeah. Okay, that part we don't need because it's. Okay, so now at the end of this verse 29, he says you have striven. That means struggled in English. With the divine and with men and overcome. So the divine here means the angel that he just wrestled with. And who are the people? Rashi says on page 372, Esau and Lavan. Those are the two who stood in his way and who tried to withhold from him, and he overcame them as well. Now, 30, Jacob says, tell me your name. And the angel says to him, why is it that you ask? And that pacifies Jacob. This happens a number of times in biblical text. There's an interaction. A asks something or says something, and B responds, and then they go on to other things. And if you look carefully, it's not exactly clear why the response was good enough, why the response helped. We saw that when Rebecca was pregnant, and she was in desperation because of the activity within her abdomen. And she goes off, and she gets a message. Oh, you're going to have twins. That's the end of the interaction. And we asked, so what? How did that help? She's worried about what she's experiencing, and then she says, there's two in there instead of one. How does that help? So you have to work and figure out why that helps. So here, Jacob asks for his name, and he says, why are you asking for my name? So Rashi says, what he's telling him is, we have no fixed name. Our names change. It is all according to the command of the task and the mission upon which we are sent. That's a very important insight into what a malach is. And it could be misunderstood here, but let me try to explain. The word malach in Hebrew does not mean messenger. If that's the way you've seen it translated, as it's often translated, it's just a mistake. Malachim do lots and lots of things. Sometimes they take messages, and sometimes they don't. One malach came to heal Abraham after the bris milah, and one malach came to tell Sarah that she was going to have a child, and one malach came to destroy the city of stone. So they're not always messengers. That's the wrong translation. Malach, the word malach is built out of the word malacha, which means to perform a certain action, to perform something that creates an effect. So the best translation for the word malach is agent, which would make it very similar to shaliach. He's someone who acts on behalf of someone else. Now here, the word malach is the noun that describes this class of beings. So they are agents. That's what they are. That's their definition, their essence. That means they act on behalf of something else. They are agents of that kind of action. So he says, the name that we have is the name of the action that we have to perform. And from time to time, we perform different actions. And our names will shift from time to time. You want to know my name as if to know my identity. My identity is constantly changing. I don't have one identity. Now, the truth is that in many sources, we say that the purpose of the action of the malach is his identity, and that doesn't change. Raphael is the angel that is in charge of healing, because rapot means to heal in Hebrew, and he doesn't have clones. So what this has to mean is, although there's a general category, the category is applied to different things in different ways, and each time that application is made, my name changes to fit that application, and therefore you can't get a picture of my identity which continues through time by giving you my name. My name is specific to the thing that I'm doing. So this, why are you asking, is really communicating to him that there's nothing to ask about, and that's why he's satisfied. That's what's accomplished by Rashi's comment that explain that. So now I understand why I have to give it up, because for a malach, it's a non-question. Yeah.
In the exchange, at least from us, from the reader, unless I've missed something, it's not clear until the blessing or the statement that you've contended with godly beings, that this is in fact an angel. It just says a man wrestled with him until dawn. And so I wonder, because he's engaged with angels somewhat, maybe he knows something of what you described before this moment. And so if he can hear that it has no name, then he can confirm what he might have intuited from the statement that you fought.
Well, I think the conclusion is okay, but actually I pointed out that there are peculiarities in this interaction beforehand, which, if he's just a human being, are at least open, unsolved questions. Dawn has come, and he can't break away, but he can injure. We didn't talk about the injury, but and why is he there? What is he doing? And if he asks for a blessing that will confirm the fact that I got, so then Jacob certainly knew it before. So I think that for someone who's looking carefully and paying attention to details, and is willing to draw conclusive details, the idea of being not just an ordinary human being is there beforehand. It's not just at the very end that he gets that. Yeah.
Why can't he tell him his name at the moment?
I guess the point is, what is the point of knowing a person's name if tomorrow he's going to have a different name? It's to re-identify someone. And he says, you're not going to re-identify me because I'm not going to have the same identity. Yeah.
Do people's Hebrew names still have meaning behind them? Like they reflect one person, or do they not anymore?
So it's an interesting question because, when we name our children, we name them with classical names.
Right.
Almost all of them are biblical names. And although there are Yiddish names, it's interesting that some of the poskim were really up against using Yiddish names. So it's a questionable thing. We name for ancestors.
Right.
And that we hope to draw from them something because they have the same name. There are sources which say that the parents are inspired when they choose a name because, after all, if you're choosing on your own, you cannot take this 8-year-old baby or a week-old girl and apply a name which will apply to their future essence. You have no clue what the future essence is going to be. So I would say, yes, there is meaning to the name. We're largely ignorant of what the meaning is, and that's why we rely on ancestors to do it. The idea of relying on ancestors in the Tanakh, you don't find it. Maybe there are 2 or 3 instances in the whole 1,000 pages of Tanakh where someone has named the same name as an ancestor. The rest of the time, they're all brand new.
Right.
So this was not always done.
Right. When did it come about?
I'm sorry?
When did it come about when they were naming people like that?
Well, you have it in the Gemara, you have it in the Mishnah. Indeed, you have several generations. It's A, the son of B, the son of A, the son of B. It was going up like that. When did it start? I don't know. Maybe this is related to the idea, which they do say, that as long as prophecy existed in the Jewish people, which was up until the beginning of the Second Temple, people were on a higher level where they could, on their own understanding, achieve, for example, prayer was completely free up until that time. You composed your own prayers on the spot, and you prayed when you thought the situation needed it, because they were in contact with the prophets, and that gave them a certain gift which we didn't otherwise have. From then on, the Anshe Knesset, men of the Great Assembly, made organized prayer and made an organized text for prayer because we couldn't do that anymore. And maybe the same thing is true about names. So we just weren't have the ability to make names like that. I think David, so much is written about David's name, and it was the name that his parents gave him. And having said all of this, the striking, shocking fact is that Moses had Jewish names. The Gemara records that he had several names that his parents gave him, and they didn't stick. Only the name of the daughter of Pharaoh stuck. That's how he's known forever. That's shocking. Even if you say she was coming down to the Nile to convert, okay, terrific, right? Moses' father was the leader of the previous generation. Come on, a new convert can't compete with that. Obviously, she was speaking with some kind of Ruach HaKodesh, which meant that was the name that he took. So the names that are given, and this is what's behind the change of name, although I keep saying change of name. Not exactly right. Abraham's name was changed, Sarah's name was revealed, and Jacob's name was added. They're three entirely different events. So one should not sum them up under one category. I spoke about that when we talk about Abraham's name. But the names are very important. And any change in the names, any kind of change in the names, indicates some change in the essence of the person. And that's what I was describing before with respect to Jacob. As long as he was Jacob, he was taking what's his from others, and after that, he at least sometimes gets what's his because of who he is. And the fact that he has both names means that he now has a dual identity, not a single identity. And with a dual identity, he goes from one to the other, and the Jewish people goes from one to the other depending upon circumstances. And that's why the Jewish people is sometimes called Jacob, sometimes called Israel. It becomes a complex situation. He has two continuing names, which are two different names.
Is Moses an Egyptian name?
Well, you always have this. We have a text that's telling us in Hebrew what she said. Presumably she spoke Egyptian. She didn't speak Hebrew. The commentators struggle with Mishisihu. Is that a Hebrew word or is not a Hebrew word? And how we relate it semantically to other Hebrew roots. It's quite a difficult problem. But generally, we don't have that problem because we just saw this now. Where did we just see this now? With Jacob and Lavan.
Lavan is Aramaic, right?
Right. He made a mound. And the Torah says, Lavan called it Yagar Sahadusa, which is Aramaic, and Jacob called it Galed, which means all the other things that Lavan said, he said in Aramaic. But this is a Hebrew book for Hebrew readers. So he described the words in Hebrew. It doesn't mean he spoke those words. It means he said in Aramaic something which is translated by these words. So you have that all the time. Okay, it's 20 after. Very good. Have a wonderful Shabbos.